everyone. My name is James Woodhouse. I'm the chair of the School of Environmental Sciences at Lakeland College. I'd like to welcome you to Open House. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Environmental Conservation and Reclamation Program, otherwise known as ECR. The ECR program learns or teaches students how to reclaim disturbed lands and minimize its impact of industrial activities including but not limited to oil and gas, mining, and forestry activities. What reclamation or reclaiming lands means is putting land to equivalent or similar land capability. So for example, if we have a forested site that becomes an oil and gas well for a period of time, once that activity is done, our students learn how to put that site back to either forested land, or there could be a change in land use to, let's say, a pasture, still productive land use, but maybe a little bit different than its original intent. Our students will learn, or our students do learn, how to be workforce ready with an emphasis on the ecology of ecosystems and learn how to classify, manage, conserve, and inventory soils. The ECR program is really a soils-focused program. As I'll talk to you about in a few slides, you do get knowledge of plants, soils, water, but our focus is definitely on soils and soil resources. Soil resources are the basis of, or a really important part of, how ecosystems function. And if you don't have the soil in place, or you don't know how to correctly manage that soil, it can be extremely challenging to reestablish or reclaim that ecosystem that you're trying to create or you're trying to put back to following some type of industrial disturbance. What we provide in our program, or the ECR program, along with all the other programs at Lakeland College, but what we specialize in is you'll be able to do detailed site assessments on cultivated, native grassland, and forested sites, as well as being able to apply reclamation regulations, guidelines, and techniques. So the year one program, or the first year of an environmental sciences diploma at Lakeland, is a common first year with all four of our majors. There is one difference with the wildlife program, but I won't get into that too much today. But as you can see, we have a group of courses that are fairly generalistic, giving you kind of the basis or the background knowledge of the environmental sciences, with some specializations or some exposure to all of the areas that you'll cover in your diploma. This provides you the opportunity to change majors within your first year from ECR to CARE, or from AES to ECR, or from ECR to Fish and Wildlife, for example. You can find more details about the courses that we offer at the link below. I've included a screenshot of what the website looks like as well. And this will have more details on the specific courses and what's covered. The second year, as you can see, focuses much more heavily on soil sciences, or the soils. I've highlighted the key courses that are unique to ECR, which include SC 408, Field Reclamation Methods, Revegetation Management, and Soil Fertility and Fertilizers. But as you can see, there are several other classes such as soil classification, soil conservation, environmental contaminants that deal directly with soils. But again, we do round out your education with some exposure to things like forest ecology, groundwater monitoring, and hydrology. After year two, after you've completed your diploma at Lakeland and received the ECR credential, you have several opportunities for further study if you choose. You can join us in our applied degree program, which is a further year of study, or basically one more year of school, followed by an 8-month industry practicum. You could also choose to double major. So for example, you could take the ECR program and then take the Fish and Wildlife program, for example. Or you can take advantage of one of our several university transfer options, which gives you a full 2-year credit towards a university degree. at an institution such as the U of A or U of S. Finally, and very commonly, is you can choose to go to work. I've highlighted some of the jobs that our students find themselves in following graduation. Environmental consultant within the oil and gas industry is very, very common. Environmental technicians, drilling waste consultants, soil technicians, or jobs with rural municipalities or urban municipalities doing things like environmental coordination or environmental coordination of their environmental sciences programs. There are lots of options with the program, and your opportunities following study are endless, and we'd be happy to talk to you about some of those options if you want more detail. Some of the activities and applied skills that you'll get experience with and exposure to with a Lakeland diploma include, and specifically the ECR program, include plant ID and collection. So here's some photos of some of our students collecting plants out in the field. This is how we spend most of our fall semester. Most afternoons you'll be out in the field doing a lab. We travel. We're well positioned within Alberta, where Lakeland or Vermilion is, so we can have you down onto the grassland sites, or we can go just up the road and we can be in a forested site like we see at the right-hand side here with students collecting plants up at Whitney Lakes. Some other activities that we do, of course, forestry activities. Like I said, we have a forest, we have the boreal forest not that far away from our campus. So we very often take the opportunity to go north and give you some exposure and learn how to inventory forests and of course deal with how to manage those forests. We as well spend a lot of time dealing with soils. Lakeland College is located on about 1,600 acres of farmland with various landscape features that we use for our classes. As you can see, 2 of these soil pits are located on college land, or the 2 pits in these photos are located on college land. And we get you out doing field classification, hands-on classification that you can use when you go to work, and they're not a surprise because you've had that experience of being in the field and learning how to classify these at a field level. We're one of the few programs that give you, or one of the few colleges that give you the opportunity to do hands-on soil classification in your program. We also do some other interesting labs. Here's an example is one of our equipment labs that we run in the second year. We have access to some heavy equipment on the college that we borrow for an afternoon or steal. This isn't to make you an equipment operator, but just to give you some experience and some exposure of what the capability of these types of equipment is in a reclamation situation and what they might be used for. You do get to operate the machines, so it's a really great experience and gives you a little bit more understanding of how heavy equipment might operate in the field or how it might be utilized, and just allows you to familiarize yourself with these pieces of equipment. Also, we cover things like the Alberta reclamation criteria for well sites. So here we have our students out again on some of our college land. We have prepared well sites across the college that we use for our lab activities. And in a year like this one, we were actually able to walk to these sites and still allow our students to have the hands-on opportunities that we market. Here the students are doing a cultivated DSA. This is a really key criteria for reclamation in Alberta. As we can see, this industrial site or this oil well, whatever our industrial disturbance is, has been converted back or reclaimed to agricultural land. And our students are looking at this site to determine if it would meet the criteria or effectively would pass the criteria set out by the government of Alberta to meet equivalent land capacity, or in other words, reclamation success. We also do some activities like erosion control, installation in some of our classes such as soil conservation. This is an example of a lab that we run every year. In this example, our students were installing 3 different types of erosion control matting, which you can see here, here, and here. The students evaluated these and looked at the different effects of different types of erosion control matting. The students are not erosion control matting. They're just enjoying some of their hard work, a well-earned break after installing these different products. Again, these are sites that exist right on college land. We give you hands-on opportunity to kind of work through these and get some experience and exposure to these products that you would use in a real job. Also, our students would work on improving sites. So as I mentioned, I spent a lot of time talking about reclamation, industrial sites, soils, but also, like I said, we do offer a well-rounded program that gives you skills that can be applied to different situations. So this is another project that our students have worked on in the ECR program in the revegetation class. Here we have a wetland where the shoreline was significantly impacted by cattle grazing activity. And I'm just highlighting it here. And as you can see, there's a lot of damage to the shoreline, and that was really impacting the quality of the site, and also, would be a pretty typical type of problem that we might have to deal with in the field, either through this traffic on a site, or if we had, let's say, a big flooding event or something, and the shoreline was damaged through a lot of erosion. So our students, what they did was create a plan for this site in the revegetation class, and essentially tried to improve the quality of the site. And we did that by willow staking, so using something called what's a term known as bioengineering. So essentially using plants to improve the quality of the site or strengthen the site to stabilize this shoreline that I've highlighted. And as well, we excluded cattle grazing from this water body and installed a remote water with partnership with our farm. So this work was done in 2018. Here we can see the site yesterday. As you can see, the water level is a little bit higher than it was initially, but you can see the same group of trees here and here, and you probably cannot make it out, but along this shoreline, we've installed willow stakes, which are growing. Unfortunately, some of them are underwater, but they'll come back in the spring. And as you can see, the vegetation has come back really nicely, and our students have improved the quality of the site through one of their lab activities. Other things that we try to show students or we expose students to is a lot of local tours. So we do visit or make an effort to visit well sites, gravel pit type disturbance, contaminated sites, pipelines, batteries, wastewater facilities, landfills, and essentially any other activity that we can find and get access to. We do this for several reasons. One, it kind of shows you what these facilities look like. If you have not been exposed to them, it gives you a great networking opportunity to meet with some of these employers that are running these projects. In many cases, students may get jobs out of these opportunities. Below is a picture of one of our classes a few years ago when there was a pipeline project going through north of Vermilion, and we were able to get access to this pipeline project and kind of tour how the construction, all phases of the project were going from construction to starting to reclaim that site. And we have visited these sites several years after the activity has ceased to look at how the reclamation is going. We also go to some other sites that are usually further afield than just the college. We've participated for several years in the CLRA Fall Tour. This is an industry event that, again, another great networking opportunity, and allows you to meet with some professionals in the field, but also gives you an opportunity to develop or get some exposure to some of the trends in the environmental sciences field, and also see where industry is going. So we visited sites around Calgary, looking at the flood effects following the large flooding events that happened a few years ago. We visited industrial sites around Fort Saskatchewan to see how they deal with the reclamation. We also visited um, a greenhouse that grows many of the plant propagules for reclamation in the oil sands industry. So we got an understanding of how large scale greenhouse operations work. We've also gone as far down as Waterton um, and visited some of the projects at the national park and seen how they deal with native landscapes. So again, this tour moves around and we do make sure our students get out and get to see some of these activities when we can. So with that, I would like to thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to hop into the Teams chat anytime on Friday or Saturday. Or if you want to reach out after the fact, if you're viewing this after open house, you're more than welcome to email any of our instructors. My name is James Woodhouse again, and if you'd like to email me, it would just be my first name, last name at lakelandcollege.ca, and I'd love to chat about the ECR program. So I want to thank you for joining us for Open House. I hope you've learned something about the program. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.